Joining me now is Nick Cater, columnist for The Australian. Nick, let's get into today's big news, starting with the Albanese government's ongoing issues with superannuation after a backflip of sorts on their pre-election promise to leave super alone. They really put their foot in it with Assistant Treasurer Stephen Jones making this comment. He said, in the self-managed sector, there are over 600,000 funds holding around $870 billion in retirement savings. That's a lot of honey. Well, opposition leader Peter Dutton's response today was interesting.
I think Labor lose the point that this is about your money and maximising the return on your money so that you can enjoy your retirement, not some sort of socialist policy that Stephen Jones wants where, you take a big lick of honey out of the pot and start spreading it out to other projects and other people. That's not how superannuation is meant to work in our country.
Nick, was this just a clumsy metaphor, or do people have reason to be concerned?
Absolutely. I mean, I get the impression Stephen Jones doesn't actually know what superannuation is supposed to be about. They're saying they're going to put a legislated purpose in. They're going to put into the law. They'll put what superannuation is for. I mean, we all know what it's for, right? It's so we can save money for our retirement. But look, they're confused, aren't they? Now it's honey. Apparently, honey, but that sort of socialist metaphor that we're all little bees in the hive and working for the greater good, and that everything's got to. This does scare me a lot, Rita. It really does.
I don't like these metaphors. I mean, that would make Albo the queen bee, and that just conjures up images I'm not comfortable with. Now, let's go to opposition education spokeswoman Sarah Henderson, who's calling on Foreign Minister Penny Wong to effectively ban the Chinese Communist Party's Confucius Institutes. They operate in a number of Australian universities. They're in some secondary schools too. The Albanese government, Nick, is not approving any new Confucius Institutes, but the existing ones are free to operate.
Oh, I mean, what's the point? If he's not approving any more, because presumably he thinks that there's a problem with them, and there is, by the way, Confucius Institutes, Confusion Institutes, I call them. They're trying to sow confusion. But if he's not approving any more, then and he realised that there's something problematic about these, then he should surely be getting rid of the old ones. I mean, we've gone for too long, Rita, haven't we, sort of imagining that China plays by the rules, that it plays nicely, that it will just generously put this money out there so that, kids can learn Mandarin or whatever. It's not like that with China. There's always a purpose, and we should, in my mind, universities should never have taken these things in the first place, but they should certainly, in this day and age, be waking up to the fact that we can't trust the Chinese Communist government with anything.
Well, Sweden has already banned them, so another example of where we should be following Sweden. Now, the aged care sector is sinking deeper into red, with 2 in 3 nursing homes running at a loss. The Australian reports that new official data shows nursing homes are in deep financial trouble. 66% of private providers operating at a loss, and their facilities are hemorrhaging an average $28 per resident per day. And Nick, that's despite the fact that only an average of $12.40 a day is being spent on food for each resident. It's pretty grim.
It is. And look, there is a big problem. There's a structural problem here with the aged care sector. It's not a level playing field. We've got private aged care homes, we've got government or local authority aged care homes, and we've got charitable aged care homes run by religious institutions and so forth. And the private institutions have to do it a lot harder. They don't get any of the fringe benefit tax arrangements that the charity sector gets. So it is much more difficult for them. So I think it's significant that it is the private sector that's feeling this first. But I'm sure that it's being felt across the sector. I mean, the cost of wages is a big burden, of course. But I wish they'd spend a bit more on, I don't know, but maybe they're getting particular good bargains or something, but $12.50 for food. If it was my mother or father in those homes, I'd hope they'd be spending a bit more than that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it's enough. Now to Qantas, the former Spirit of Australia has posted a record half-year profit of $1.43 billion. Nick, there have been calls for the airline to perhaps return some or all of that JobKeeper and other financial assistance it received from taxpayers during the pandemic, a little over $2 billion. What's your position on this?
Well, I mean, look, first of all, let's be fair. I mean, they did take a substantial hit during COVID. They were compensated, of course, quite regularly. But they have look. Qantas has to get back in the black. It has to get its resources back up, because we're very lucky to have a national airline, unlike a lot of countries that have lost it. But look, as a passenger, when you look at some of the costs that you have to pay or you're being asked to pay, $800-900 on a single flight from Sydney to Melbourne, I mean, that is crazy. That is way above cost. So when they're making these sort of profits, you've got to say, come on, fair's fair. Do the right thing by the travelling public.
Look, I would just settle for the occasional on-time flight and something approaching a premium service, because like you said, they charge like a premium airline, but the service levels just are not there at the moment.